Draft's just finished. Literally, it's just literally been over for maybe 2 minutes. I've got to say, I was maybe I was excited for a little while. In the end, I ended up disappointed, which is not surprising considering it is the WWE. But I mean, there were positives coming out of the show. Um, SmackDown got the face that they needed, and I predicted, like I said, Randy Orton went to SmackDown. But we'll go through the show. The show opened basically. You had they jumped into the ring and they were banging in the middle of a battle royal. And I literally remember when the show opened, I was like, "What the fuck? Have they just have?" Because originally I thought the show was going to be 3 hours long. I assumed that the show was going to be a 3 hour show, but it wasn't. It ended up only being a two hour roll. And I was sitting there thinking, boy, are they really that desperate that they need to jump into the middle of the match to open the show? They need that press for time. And literally, I was just thinking, what the fuck? What the fuck? Have I missed something? Or have they screwed up or something? And no, evidently not. And it was hard keeping track of who was in the ring and everything. And the battle royal, I don't like those battle royals because they're really scrappy and there's just too many men in the ring. But eventually, the final four was Kofi, Evan Bourne, Mason Ryan, and Big Show. With Big Show and Kofi from SmackDown, and Mason Ryan and Evan Bourne from Raw. And there was a spot with Kofi in Evan where Evan was going to powerbomb him. Evan was sort of like Kofi. Kofi was going on the outside, and then he went through the ropes, and he got him over in like a backdrop, and Evan was going to powerbomb him, and then they managed to get back up on the apron, and Evan. I can't remember whether it was Kofi or Evan, but one tried to take the leg away, and then one went over, and then they went back in the ring, and eventually Kofi eliminated. Big Show eventually eliminated Bourne, and then they eliminated Ryan, and so SmackDown got the first draft pick, and it was John Cena. And I'll admit I was surprised, but I figured that it was a nice idea because you have John Cena, who is set to feud with The Rock. He's basically got set up feud with The Rock, and it's going to end in a year. Is now on The Rock's show. We'll get back to that later on. So they had a segment with Cena saying that he's on SmackDown, and they had the Cena Miz thing where Miz said that he won't be seeing Cena. I won't be able to see you after Extreme Rules. Then they had a commercial break, and they came back, and there was a boring R-Truth promo. And now R-Truth turning heel is all well and good, and I'm glad that he's getting some airtime. But I don't buy R-Truth as a character. You have to put some momentum behind him before you can't just turn the guy heel. You can't throw the guy into a WWE title position where he's number one contender, so it looks like he's going to get a WWE title match, and then take that away from him and then turn him heel because then he's got no momentum. You can't even putting him in that position in the first place, and everybody was like, "What? What? Huh? R-Truth, really?" Which is understandable because the guy's got no credibility. The last time the guy had credibility was when he was US champion, and even then, in my opinion, Truth hasn't had any credibility in his WWE run. Not in his first run or his second. And I don't really think he had much credibility in TNA either. So, and I think this promo just went on far too long. Just dragged it out. And Morrison came down and attacked Truth, but I think it was a little bit too late. I think about 5 minutes too late, because the promo just seemed to go on and on and on, and I just wasn't interested. So there was that and furthering their feud, which I'm assuming is going to carry on after Extreme Rules. Then they had a Divas match, which was for another pick. Um, it was Layla against Eve, and the match literally lasted 2 seconds. Maybe not 2 seconds, but maybe about 20-30 seconds, if that. And Eve pinned Layla with a roll up after she was distracted by Michelle. And literally, Cole killed the women's division again by getting on the microphone and burying them, saying that they were all, saying that there was more important things to be dealt with, and he was the main eventer. Then he went backstage, and SmackDown got a draft. Raw got a draft pick because he won, and it was Rey Mysterio. But the bigger thing about the thing I didn't care about Mysterio going to Raw. I care more about Layla and Michelle McCool because Layla will finally stay. This segment, the segment to close out the match, was I think it was very good because Layla was actually made to look strong for the first time since the split was teased. Now, in my personal opinion, I think they should have done the split when Layla won the Divas title. They had a handicap match and they had Layla get the pin and she won the Divas title. I think from that moment on, you should have had Michelle McCool get jealous of Layla having the title and just build it from there. But instead, you sort of just put the title on McCool. What did that achieve? That didn't really achieve anything. Not in the long term, not in the short term, not in any kind of term. Just it didn't really achieve anything. You put the belt on Natalia from there, and you could have had a nice little feud with McCool and Layla, and then had Natalia come in and win the belt. But no. Instead, you just rushed the belt, like give McCool the belt. But I'm glad Layla got in some offense, and I actually like Layla. I think she's coming along as a diva. I think she's better in the ring than McCool is because McCool's skills have a lot to be desired. I mean, yeah, some of her moves do like that. The kick she does is quite impressive, but her ring skills are, yeah, they leave a lot to be desired. But that segment was okay. Then you had Sheamus versus Kofi Kingston. There's something. This is one of the things about this draft that I did not like. You had Kofi go over Sheamus, US champion, in a non-title match. That's well and good. Well, it's not really because you're putting Kofi Kingston, who just lost to the Intercontinental champion, Wade Barrett, over the United States champion on Raw. Why are you going to job champions? What does that achieve? What does jobbing out a champion achieve? It achieves nothing. It achieves nothing. Makes the champion look weak. Makes your belt look weak. That's the next video that I was planning on making. I'm planning on making a video addressing the credibility of titles, but that's for another time. But this is a perfect example of that. And at the same time, later in the show, you have Wade Barrett in a non-title match against Mysterio. Mysterio goes over Barrett. You're burying your champions. What's the point? Why are you gonna bury your champions? What does it achieve? It achieves nothing. That's what it achieves. It achieves absolutely nothing. But yeah, Kofi went over, and SmackDown got 2 draft picks, and those 2 draft picks were Mark Henry. No, they only got 1 draft pick. Sorry. Then the draft pick was Randy Orton. I've given away a draft pick because I'm an idiot. They had Carl versus Ross in a ball fest, which was an absolute joke. Then they had Ziggler versus Orton, which was probably match of the night for me. As much as I thought the main event was alright, the ring work just, there was something that I didn't quite like about the main event. But literally the Cole Ross thing was just a farce. It was a waste of 20 minutes. They just stood around the ring doing nothing, and then JR hit him for a bit, and bloodied him, and that's it. And that's all that needs to be said about that. But Orton went over Ziggler, and that got SmackDown to my points because Orton obviously been drafted over to SmackDown. And those two picks were on Mark Henry and Sin Cara. Why bring Sin Cara onto Raw if you're gonna draft him over to SmackDown? Because I thought Sin Cara would have been nice to have him on Raw, because what I immediately thought when Sin Cara was drafted was that you've lost Orton, you've lost Sin, and I was when Orton went, I had this inkling that something was going to happen. I didn't know what it was going to be, but something was going to happen. I thought maybe they were going to do something like they did with the draft in, I can't remember what year it was, but a few years back when they had Triple H go over to SmackDown from Raw when he was leader of Evolution. He went over to SmackDown from Raw, and then they had Kurt Angle came in as GM, and they did a trade. They had the Dudleys and Booker T for Triple H, and I thought maybe they were going to do something like that, but then we had the Barrett Mysterio match, which I mentioned before. Mysterio went over. This was an alright match. Nothing to write home about, but it did what it was. For the time they got and the participants, it was good for that. And that earned Raw 2 draft picks, and they got Big Show and my man Alberto Del Rio. So again, Raw is stacked with heels. You've got CM Punk, and you've got The Miz, and you've got Del Rio, and you've got R-Truth. You've got Ziggler. How many faces have you got? You've got Morrison. Now, obviously, now you've got Mysterio and Big Show. But so in the main event, you had Miz, Punk, and Del Rio, which I think that's a great team. Those guys, like Miz, come on leaps and bounds since he first started wrestling as a singles wrestler. Punk is Punk. He's probably the greatest all round in the company, and Del Rio is he's not in world title spot for no reason. Against Cena, Henry, and Christian, and there was a stupid thing where Henry ran over Cena at the finish, and Miz got the skull crushing finale, and that was it. And the Raw team got the win, and they got the final draft pick, and it was Cena. And I can't say I was surprised, but at the same time, it's frustrating, it's stupid, it's typical, predictable, boring old WWE. It's the same antics. At least the draft did something. It achieved what I wanted it to. You've got Orton on SmackDown, so they have their face. You have Sin Cara over there as well, who's another strong face. They lost Del Rio and Mysterio. Del Rio is probably a bigger loss. I think you can handle losing Mysterio because I think Sin Cara is a natural replacement for Mysterio. And plus, I don't think Mysterio is as big on SmackDown as he was, and I think it's nice to have him on Raw, because Raw don't really, like I mentioned, I think I mentioned in my last video, that Raw don't really have any high flyers outside of Evan Bourne, and that was why I liked Sin Cara on Raw. But Mysterio is, like I said, it's a natural swap, and Sin Cara probably has more time on his hands as like Mysterio's older, fair few years older than Sin Cara, who's about 30, and I think Mysterio's in his late 30s, early 40s. I think he's late 30s. You can never. I don't. I mean, he's got a baby face, and I can't really tell under the mask. So I don't really keep up with ages of wrestlers because it's not really a big deal to me. You just know when they're getting old because they look like Triple H and The Undertaker. But you've got Orton, like I said, Orton and Sin Cara on SmackDown. You've got Big Show's not a big loss. I mean, he's a big loss, but he's not a big loss, not in terms of the roster. Del Rio is probably the biggest loss to SmackDown. Orton is obviously the biggest loss to Raw, but it swings and roundabouts. I don't think Raw are going to suffer as much as SmackDown would. But at the same time, I think SmackDown has more room to allow stars to breathe and build. Because you've got a well-rounded out roster on SmackDown now that they have that headline face in Orton on the show. So good with that. Whilst I would have liked Del Rio to have stayed, I think they can cope. Although this does say to me that in the long term he probably won't win the world title, which is disappointing. But at the same time, I think it's something I could get over. But there you go. Del Rio will not be the world champion, unfortunately, unless something else happens during the draft. But there was another thing I wanted to say. Something Big Show, isn't he one half of the tag champs? There was no mention of this. He's one half of the tag champs. One half of the tag champs is on Raw, and one half is on SmackDown. Interesting. But yeah, it's like almost 4:30. So I'm gonna go to bed, and I'll catch you all later. Oh, do rate, comment, subscribe. Always good to have feedback on videos that nobody watches.